The cold hit me first. Not the hurt. Not even the blood. Just the chill of the tile against my face, stealing the warmth from my skin like it owned it. Metal filled my mouth, thick and bitter. I tried to breathe, and pain lit up my ribs like flares. In the night, my sight wavered, clearing and blurring in pulses, and then I saw his shoes. Declan's shoes. A few feet from my cheek. He didn't speak. He didn't kneel. He just stood there like he was late for something better. Then he stepped over my legs like I was clutter on the floor and strolled out. The door closed with a light click, like this was nothing. I waited for footsteps coming back. For Belle's voice. For a reason, any reason, that would explain what had just happened. The silence didn't move. My phone buzzed on the ground beside me. The screen was cracked, but it still glowed. I rolled enough to see the text. Stay away. From us? I stared. The words didn't burn. They cut. She didn't ask if I was hurt, didn't say sorry, didn't pretend to be unsure. She had picked him. Fully. Quickly. And by doing that, she had unpicked me. My hands shook. I typed one word back. Done. I didn't cry. Not then. Something inside shifted, quiet and deep, like a fault line finally moving. I didn't stop loving my sister in that moment. I just stopped asking her to love me back. I sat up, dragging myself with the edge of the counter. Every breath throbbed, but not the kind that asks for sympathy, the kind that says you're still here, still able, still choosing. In the quiet, something new settled. Not rage. Resolve. Even before the bruises had bloomed, I knew this wasn't only about that night. This didn't begin with Declan's fist. It didn't even begin with Belle's silence. It started long ago in small ways when keeping the peace meant I learned to disappear. I was the easy one. The straight-A kid who didn't need praise. The one who packed her own snacks for trips so mom didn't have to bring extra. The one who folded laundry at 14 because Belle just isn't good at it. The one who kept quiet at dinner so dad wouldn't snap when he was worn out. Belle was sunshine. She glittered even when she did nothing. The year she got a job at a mall boutique, my mother acted like she'd joined a list of legends. She's finding herself, she told anyone who would listen. That same week, I was promoted to lead UX designer on a national campaign. I shared the news over dinner, and my mother smiled thinly. That's great, honey. Just don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Marriage, a family. My wins were fine as long as they didn't get too loud. As long as they didn't make anyone else feel small. When Belle got engaged to Declan, our family buzzed like he was foreign royalty. Finally, Mom whispered to me once, "She's got her future in place. Now we just have to find someone for you." Like I was an error to fix. Like my life without a man was a sentence missing an ending. That's when it clicked in a way I couldn't unsee. I wasn't a daughter. I was their backup plan, their extra hands, their emergency contact. The person who kept the wheels turning when things fell apart, and the person they didn't notice when they didn't. I let it happen. I shrank and folded until all that was left was the part of me that kept everything else moving. But when my cheek met that tile and my sister told me to stay away, something cracked through all those years. I realized I had been raised to be forgettable, and I was finally ready to leave on purpose. I grabbed my phone again, not to text, but to check something else. My mortgage pre-approval email was still sitting in my inbox, like a door I hadn't opened yet. I scrolled through the highlighted terms, my name glowing in digital ink. I had almost forgotten it was there. Almost. It started months earlier when Belle and Declan came to me in a panic over their financing. They'd already been denied once. Declan's credit was a mess from 2 businesses that flopped within a year. Belle freelanced with uneven income and patchy records. They needed someone steady, someone safe, someone certain. They needed me, we. "Just need your name on the paperwork," Belle said, her voice soft and easy, like this was no big deal. "You won't be responsible unless something goes wrong. Something always goes wrong." I helped anyway. I sat with Declan and combed through, his credit report, showing him how to dispute collections and settle the rest. I sent them to a mortgage advisor I trusted. When Belle's first payment ran late, I paid their move-in deposit. No contract, no repayment plan, faith, family. When I raised careful concerns, Belle waved them off. "You're being dramatic. It's just paperwork." Declan laughed and bumped his beer against mine. "You're like the third wheel we actually need." I told myself that was sweet, that being needed was a kind of love, that what I gave would circle back when it mattered. But standing in my apartment now, ribs screaming and face swollen, every detail looked different. Every favor, every signature, every dollar. It didn't pull us closer. It tied me down, not as a sister, as a resource. They didn't just expect me to show up. They built their plans around it. I closed the mortgage email and opened my bank's login page. The loan wasn't final yet, and my name was still hanging there like a hook. It started with a question. That's what I keep landing on. Just a question. We were in my kitchen, wrapping dinner plans after reviewing the wedding budget. Declan suggested cutting the catering staff down to 2 people to save money, even though the guest list had doubled. I said gently, "Are you sure that's smart? Cutting corners like that could cost more later." Belle stiffened. "Camille, we've got it under control." I nodded. I let it go, but Declan caught my face. Doubt. Maybe that was enough. He slapped the counter and snapped, "You think just because you make more money, you get to judge us?" I froze. "That's not..." He stepped closer. "You think you're better? You always have." His voice climbed hot and fast. I stepped back and hit the island. I looked to Belle, expecting her to calm him down the way she always smoothed everything. She didn't. Then came the shove. My ribs smashed the edge of the counter. I gasped, stunned. Before I could move, he swung. His fist cracked across my mouth. Blood hit my tongue. The world tilted. The floor rose to meet me. But that's not what I remember most. I remember Belle standing there, still as stone, not shouting his name, not reaching for me, not moving, watching, measuring. After they left, I stayed on the floor. Seconds, minutes, I couldn't tell. I reached for my phone with a hand that didn't feel like mine. Mariah answered on the second ring. "Camille?" I couldn't speak. I cried. I told her, piece by piece, shame thick in my throat, disbelief heavier still. She didn't wobble. "This isn't a misunderstanding," she said, steady and sharp. "This is assault. You need to report it." She stayed on the line while I stood, while I faced the mirror, while I looked at a version of me I barely recognized and decided I should. The next morning, I moved like glass, slow, careful, deliberate. Every inch hurt. My mind didn't. No, fog, no doubt. I logged into the bank. The mortgage file was at the top, pending $820,000 approved conditionally. Co-signed by me. I stared at my name, stamped across the pre-approval, the liability page, the payment plan. I had made this possible. Without me, they were a couple with shaky income and a credit history written like a warning sign. I started the withdrawal process. It wasn't one click. 3 verifications. A phone alert. A red warning. This action may cause the loan to be canceled. Proceed only if you understand the legal and financial consequences. Yes. Another pop-up. Are you? Sure. Yes. Security questions. My first pet. My mother's maiden name. That one stung. A final form. Dry legal text. A single signature line at the bottom. One name to undo every time I had picked them over myself. I rested my hand on the mouse. They expected me to keep giving, to stay quiet, to leave my name attached even after they left me on the floor. I wasn't their anchor anymore. I wasn't their safety net. Sign. A small checkmark appeared. Your guarantor agreement has been successfully withdrawn. I closed the laptop. The silence around me was still. Not heavy. Clean. Somewhere in the city, they were probably picking centerpieces or paint colors. They didn't know the ground under. Their dream had just vanished, and I wasn't finished. The call came just after noon. I didn't know the number. I answered anyway. Declan's voice burst through, high, frantic, nothing like the smug man in my kitchen 2 nights ago. Camille? What did you do? The bank called. The guarantor pulled out. The loan is denied. You ruined this. Do you even understand? I let silence stretch. I could hear him squirm. When I spoke, my voice was calm. I did what Belle asked. I'm staying away. I hung up. An hour later, the banging started. Not knocking. Banging. The door shook under their fists, through the peephole. I watched Belle pace like a storm, eyes wild. Camille, open this door. You are ruining everything, she screamed. Declan hovered behind her, trying to look softer. Just talk to us. Think of Mom. Think of everything we've been through. I didn't move, I didn't answer. I stood there and watched them fray. When they finally left, their voices echoing down the hall, I sat at my table and opened a new folder on my desktop, court evidence. I added photos, the swelling, the bruise on my ribs, the cut in my lip, the screenshot of Belle's text, the withdrawal confirmation from the bank. I wasn't doing this for revenge. I was doing it because people like them could twist a story until the truth suffocated under guilt, and but we're family. This time I had proof. And I wasn't going quiet again. The next morning, my phone rang. My mother. I let it go to voicemail, then again, and again. On the 4th, I picked up. Camille, what is going on? Her voice was tight. Belle says you pulled your name from the loan. Are you really going to destroy your sister's future over a disagreement? Disagreement? I didn't tell her about the bruises, about the punch, about Belle's silence. I didn't ask if she already knew. I did know. You've always been so dramatic, she said. You push people away and then act like a victim. I raised 2 daughters. I won't let one tear the other down out of spite. I hung up. Hours later, Aunt Carol called. We hadn't talked in months. She didn't say hello. Your mother told me everything. I'm so disappointed, Camille. Your sister is under so much stress. The wedding, the house, it's a lot. You should support her, not punish her? I almost laughed. That was the moment it crystallized. This wasn't about a punch or a mortgage. It was about roles. Belle was allowed to stumble. I was required to steady. That was the balance they depended on. They weren't calling to learn. They were calling to reset the system. I blocked their numbers and saved the voicemails to the folder. It wasn't just Belle and Declan anymore. It was the whole structure. I was done playing my part. The envelope arrived on a Thursday. Thick, official, courthouse seal, a temporary restraining order, filed by Belle. I read it twice, 3 times. I still couldn't believe the words. According to her sworn statement, I was unstable, obsessed. I had violently confronted her out of jealousy. She called me dangerous. For a moment, I couldn't breathe, not from fear, but from the accuracy of the lie. She wasn't confused. She was flipping the script, but I had evidence. And I had Aya Connors. My lawyer didn't rattle. She was sharp and sure. She knew exactly what room we were walking into. The courtroom was small but full. Belle dabbed at dry eyes. Declan sat stiff beside her. My mother wouldn't meet my gaze. Their attorney sounded practiced, soft as wool, painting me as the bitter sister trying to break up a happy future. They bent every fact into suspicion, every silence into guilt. Then it was our turn. Aya didn't put on a show. She laid out the story like a spine. First, the photos, clear, time-stamped, my face, my ribs, my split lip. Then the medical report. Blunt force trauma, internal bruising, findings consistent with a physical assault. Finally, the footage. Grainy. Silent, unavoidable, Belle, lunging, me shoved back. Declan watching and then walking away. The room went still. The judge waited. Then she turned to them. Petition denied, she said, voice firm. And consider yourselves fortunate, Ms. Reyes. isn't filing charges. They didn't speak. They couldn't. I didn't celebrate. I slipped my things into my bag, nodded to Aya, and walked out with Mariah at my side. The hallway wasn't empty. She stood there waiting, shoulders tight, mascara smudged like she wanted it to look accidental. When our eyes met, there was no glow of certainty in hers. For the first time, I saw doubt. "Camille," she said, voice small. "Can we talk?" I didn't stop. She kept pace, reaching for my arm. I pulled away. "I didn't know it would go this far," she whispered. Declan said. The sentence fell apart. I turned enough to face her. "You stood there," I said. "You let him hit me. You watched me on the floor and said nothing. Then you called me dangerous." "Cam, I didn't mean... You are no longer my sister." It wasn't anger. It was stillness. And she knew it. Her mouth opened like she might cry or argue or beg. Nothing came out. She stayed small and speechless as I walked away. Outside, the air felt thin and sharp. Mariah pulled up, and I slid into the passenger seat. We didn't talk. Her hand rested near mine. She drove. That night, I sat at my table and opened my phone. I deleted their numbers one by one. Belle, Declan, my mother, my aunt. Then I opened my laptop and created a new email folder. Peace. I didn't put the voicemails there. I didn't need to. That folder wasn't for proof. It was for the things I was learning to guard. For the first time in years, I closed my computer without bracing for impact. A year passed. Like a season, I finally stopped fighting. I poured into my work, not to forget, but to remember. I led a major launch. I became department head. I stopped apologizing for knowing what I was doing. On Tuesday nights, I took ceramics at the community center. My hands learned to shape what once felt too soft to hold. Clay didn't care about my past. It answered only to pressure, consistency, patience. By November, my apartment hummed with voices and laughter. I hosted my first Friendsgiving. Mariah brought wine. Nate made a turkey that shouldn't have worked, but did. We sat on mismatched chairs and passed plates over stories that made us laugh until we cried. It was everything my family dinners weren't. Last week, a letter arrived. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. That night, I stood over the recycling bin and tore it in half, then into quarters. No rage, just an ending. Out on my balcony, the cactus I bought after the hearing had bloomed. A single pink flower, small and stubborn, perched at the top like a tiny flag. I watered it slowly and sat beside it, legs tucked under me, listening to the wind. I used to think being strong meant never breaking. Now I know. Strength is what you grow in the cracks.